Hello, this is Carl from Denmark, and this is episode number 4 of my series of the early Beatles. As some of you may have discovered, because the first episodes were so long, I have cut them up in shorter episodes, and for the future I will really try to keep the episodes on less than 20 minutes, so I don't have to make two versions of them. That a little easier for me just making one version. But you see, there is this thing here. There are some few hang-ups from the previous episodes that I would really like to mention, and I will try to do it as fast as I can. After giving it a little thought, I think I can do with just one thing. You know, the previous episode, I've made it and I used some musical examples, and I uploaded it and it was blocked. Okay, I had to cut out all the music examples and then upload it again. And I don't know how much sense it makes without the music examples. It's kind of saying, oh, you gotta hear this, and people are not gonna hear anything. But I hope you can find those things elsewhere, or I guess most of people watching this video might have them themselves. And one particular thing was that I was talking about Ain't Sweet, and one of the breaks. The break I was referring to, if you got it on a CD, go to 1 minute and 40 seconds into Ain't Sweet, and then about the next 4 or 5 seconds, give or take, it's what happened there I was talking about. And maybe you can find it on YouTube. Maybe someone succeeded to upload it without getting blocked. What do I know? But if you got it on a CD, it should be quite easy. Just go into 1 minute and 40 seconds and take it from there. Well, talking of Ain't She Sweet, there's something here. It's really important for me to tell this. I told you that I have liked that since I was a kid. So it really is something that is important to me, and when we are making music analysis, it is a bit of an awkward thing, because it's not what you would usually do when you are listening to music. You are listening to music for pleasure, and you are thinking that thing sounds good. And if it sounds good to you, it sounds good. Period. And I still love Ain't She Sweet, and I'm still blown away every time I hear it, and I think it's wonderful. Because you see, I'm not a walking metronome. I'm a human being, and music is so much more than how good or how bad you play, and it can touch you on so many levels. And you know that there actually is a song with the title "Ain't Nothing Bad About Feeling Good," and I think you should remember that. And don't let anybody tell you that there's something wrong with the music you love. If you think oh, that's so good. It is good to you. And so let it be like that. And sometimes you can come across someone who saying, "Oh yes, I'm a professional musician, and I was educated," and then comes all the fine papers from all that fine music schools they've been on, and it's like I know about music, I got the knowledge, so I can decide what's good and what's bad. And furthermore, I can decide what's good taste and what's bad taste. And now I'm telling you, you got bad taste. Don't let anybody do that to you. That guy may know a hell lot of music, but when you go out and for your money buy an album and you come home in your own home and you are playing that, who is it that is supposed to be pleased? That guy with all his fine papers or you? Well, I hope the answer is obvious. So don't let anybody do that to you. So it is a bit awkward with all those analyzing things because it's not what you would usually do when you are listening to music. You would just think, oh yeah, that sounds good. That sounds fine. I like that. That's fine. But we are dealing with something a bit else now because we are sitting with this question: was Pete Best not good enough as a drummer? And to answer that, we need to go into these small details. And I really didn't like sitting there and should point out all the slightest little differences in a Ain't She Sweet, a song that I love so much. But it was sort of necessary. Well, maybe it might not be necessary to do so much more of that. I did so much of it in the previous episode, and I could say so many more things, but I think I'll leave it there, and you can go further if you like to and make your own studies. If you want to hear what Pete did later on, I also told you in episode 2 when I was showing all these books and albums and all sorts of stuff that there is this compilation, the Pete Best Combo from 64 to 66. There, on this compilation called The Beats Scene, there is one song with, well, he hears the group called the Pete Best 4. I think that's a little bit earlier. They're making a version of I'm Gonna Knock on Your Door. You know, that old, what was it called? Eddie Knuckles or something like that. And I actually think they did a pretty good job on it, I think. And then they moved on to this, and it's all up to 66, you can see. And I have already spoken about, well, was it a wrong direction that Pete kept to the music he loved? I don't think it was. But it is very basic garage rock, rhythm and blues. And you know, it's a bit funny, you know, there was so much in the 60s about Beatles or Stones, and who were you with or something, and it is actually leaning more up at the Stones than the Beatles, or maybe some other things in that blues oriented thing, like Pretty Things, maybe a bit. Well, it's hard to say, but what I was trying to say is that it was pretty straightforward, and they weren't doing any experimental stuff. So you see, they were doing this kind of thing that were the typical thing there around 63. And they were still doing that when Beatles made Rubber Soul and Revolver. And I said in the previous episode that it's not fair to talk about going in a wrong direction, because playing the music he like, that's fine. Why shouldn't he? But from the point of view of all that experimentation there was in that period, and how much the music was changing, well, you must admit, it doesn't seem like Pete was the right man for that job. And you can say that well, if you think that Pete Best combo are great, well, they are great for you. That this is that thing again, but no one in their wildest fantasies could imagine Pete Best combo making Sgt. Pepper. They wouldn't have done that, and they wouldn't be able to do that. Simply not. Sorry, but that's how it is. And that doesn't make it bad. Later on, there are some newer things here. I told you about the Cashback Club, and there was this Pete Best band. Yeah, it's an old photo, and it's actually a Paul McCartney, a bit awkward. But no, never mind. But it was called themselves the Pete Best Band, and it was in 1999 they made this album. Again, it's straight rock and roll. A few years later came this one, Heyman's Green, and here are more of, later 60s style, and a little bit of what you could call experimental, not quite as far out as Sgt. Pepper or Magical Mystery Tour, but there are a bit of it. But 2008, I think, and okay, this is about 50 years too late. No, sorry, I'm miscalculating. From the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and the O's is 40 years too late. Sorry, I was giving it 10 years too much, but 40 years too late. It's the time it had taken him to reach that point where he's sort of ready for doing a bit of those things. And the other Beatles were changing so fast. Well, you can see they couldn't just wait for Pete to come up there and be ready for that. Then they then there would have been no Sgt. Pepper. Well, maybe that's all I should say in this episode. When I was showing all... No, I stop here. Because then this episode would not run away from me and suddenly I have talked for 3 hours or something. So I quit here and making a little short episode. I could say a lot more on all these musical aspects, but as I also said in the previous episode, I think there are other aspects to the issue, and I think, okay, then in the next episode I can go into these other things that is not so much about the music and about playing and playing ability and that sort of stuff, but other things.